Apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. Okay, everybody look up here. Stop looking at your bulletins. Do you know what this is? What is this? Yeah, it's a basketball bracket, but it's not just a basketball bracket. It is my entryway into the magic of March Madness. It is a way for me to judge myself against my competitors. There was a day when I was very proud of this. That day is not today. There was a day I was very proud of this, very, very proud of this. It was the first time I'd ever filled out one from beginning to end. I'd never done that before because I think it's kind of crazy. But I joined a group. Everybody picked a bracket, and I was one of them. After the first round, I was on top of the world. I was doing great. I knew I was great. The world knew I was great. All I had to do was go to the group standings and see myself right there at the top. And I could gloat. And it was great. And then the second round happened. And everything fell apart. Everything fell apart. But still, I wasn't at the bottom. I was kind of 3/4 of the way down. And then Sweet 16. Know what Sweet 16 is? Okay, I want to make sure. I know not everybody here is a basketball fan. Sweet 16, the final 16 teams. By that, this is what I'll do with my bracket. And you can have it. Man, it just fell apart. And I was at the bottom. Life at the bottom. They say life at the top it's lonely at the top. It's lonelier at the bottom. So now every time I go and look, there I am. And it's the truth is it's not fun at all to be at the bottom. It's painful. Painful. Like the guy in today's story, right? Right? Here's a blind guy, and he's got to deal with living life blind. But not only that, he's got to live within the social construct of a world where most people want to know who's to blame. Right? That's what it means by who sinned, him or his parents. That's what that means. Well, whose fault is this? So not only does he have to live blind, he has to live with that baggage. And that's not even all of it, because it goes further. So not only do people want to know whose fault it is, and that doesn't make these people bad, because I do that. We're all trying to figure out the world and why things happen, and sometimes it's easy, like my bracket. I picked wrong. And sometimes it's hard. There aren't any easy answers. But we still try to figure it out, right? So they're trying to figure it out, and in their trying to figure it out, one of the things that tends to happen is they push people away who are at the bottom. As if somehow or another his blindness is going to rub off on them. So the man has to live within that social isolation. That place of, man, I must have really done something wrong to deserve this. It's like, once again, to use my silly example, it's like when I go to the group standings now, I realize, like the guy, it's painful to be at the bottom. Because every time I go, there I am. There's my name at the bottom. Somebody else could go, and they might go, well, I'm not doing too well, but at least I'm not Thom. See, I've got at least there's not, right? And it's just me. And that's like this guy. That's what I'm saying. It's like this guy. And where does that put you when you're in that place? Well, I'll tell you where it puts me is I'm all alone in this. I'm all alone in this. And that somehow, some way, maybe I deserve it. Somehow, some way, maybe they're right. I deserve this. You see, but Jesus will have none of that. None of it. There's no blame. There's no judgment. There's just unconditional acceptance. And I want to suggest to you today that it's the unconditional acceptance is the beginning of the healing. Unconditional acceptance is the beginning of the healing. You see, because I don't know about your life, but my life, I know this for sure. When I receive unconditional acceptance, healing occurs. Might not fix me, but healing occurs. And I saw this so powerfully in a story. It was on one of those, you ever watch ESPN and they have those stories called E60? Okay, well, so there are these stories called E60. For those of you who don't know. And there was one on there called A Boy and His Dog. A Boy and His Dog. And it's a story about Owen, a little boy, 7 years old, who's got this extremely rare disease. I think I heard the statistic that maybe 2 out of 1 million people have the disease he has. And it's a disease where his muscles are always tight. They're always in tension. So it's from his face, from his jowls, all the way down to his feet. He's always in tension. So his father says he's got this high threshold of pain because he's always in pain. And not only does he have that disease, though, this disease that makes him be in pain all the time, it also limits his mobility. Because he's so tense, he has to either use a walker or get pushed around in a wheelchair to get around. And so not only does he have that, though, he's got the fear of going outside and being around other people, as well as the pain in his body. And the fear of going outside and being around other people is because, and nobody's trying to be malicious or bad, he just stands out so much. He's so different, this little boy, that people stare. And people oftentimes point. And that negative attention, as you can imagine, is not something a 7-year-old boy wants. So he stays at home as much as possible. He doesn't go out. He's afraid of people, as a matter of fact, he says. But all that changes when he meets his best friend. And his best friend's name is Hatchie. Hatchie. And Hatchie is a 3-legged, some kind of shepherd. Big, huge dog. 150, 160 pound. You'll see in a second. 150, 160 pound dog. Hatchie was tied to a railway line in North London and hit by a train. So he had to have his leg amputated. Hatchie and Owen become best friends. And that acceptance changes both of their lives. Well, let me see. Now, they're in England, so you're going to have to really pay attention to hear what they're saying.
Take Owen.
It goes. Hatchie. Here's the story. Hatchie got tied to a railway line and got hit by a train in North London. He got adopted by RSPCA found him, and then Ross and James adopted him. Then he was feeling bad, and then he came to us. He does look after me too, and he's special.
In February 2012, I was flipping through Facebook and I saw a photo that grabbed my attention straight away. And it was the face of Hatchie staring straight at a camera, and it had come from a friend of mine called Ross McCarthy, and he was looking for somebody to adopt a 3-legged Anatolian shepherd. So I arranged to go up to the Dogs and Kisses business. It was just a pair of eyes in between two Great Dane legs just staring at me, and in that moment I literally took a gasp of breath. I'd never felt like that about any dog ever in my life. And he sort of came lolloping in. His balance wasn't great because it was only a few weeks after his amputation. And then Ross's partner James said, "Oh, look," and he was wiggling his tail stump, and that's the first time his tail stump had ever moved. And I knew then that Hatchie had chosen us, we didn't choose. It's almost like he understands. The day that Hatchie met Owen was utterly incredible, and it was electric, it was spiritual, as corny as that sounds.
The first day I met him, it was in the morning. He just laid up to me, put his head on my lap, and that's what happened.
And they've just melted in front of us, and Owen stroked his head and said, "Hello, Hatchie," and there was just like a communication between them that only they will ever understand, and there was an immediate bond. It's like they both knew that each other were different, and there was a instant acceptance of those differences, and that they were going to work together as a team with those differences.
So I don't know if you heard that, but it's when they saw each other, there was an immediate bond. And it was like they both realized each of them was different. And so there was an immediate also acceptance of those differences. And in that acceptance, you see, the little boy isn't magically fixed, but he's healed. The dog doesn't get his leg back, but he's healed. You see, because there is something powerful about somebody else accepting you or me or anybody else right where they are, as they are, for who they are. As a matter of fact, what our story says is there's something healing about it. Amen.